Perfect. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, October 15th, 2019. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Palm Coast Council meeting. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Cuff, at this point, you need to ask for a motion per the charter to excuse the mayor's absence.
Mr. Reichman?
Yeah, we just need a motion. Obviously, with the mayor's situation right now, it would be appropriate for this council to make a motion to find that her absence this morning, consistent with the charter, is an excused absence.
I'll gladly make that motion, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Motion passes 4-0.
Just for the record, then, the council has found that the mayor's absence this morning is an excused absence.
And for context, everyone, the mayor is currently at her daughter's side. She's going through some serious medical issues and procedures, so that's the explanation for her absence. Should we continue with roll call?
Oh, Vice Mayor Clufus?
Present.
Councilmember Branquinho?
Here.
Councilmember Cuff?
Present.
Councilmember Howell?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would now like to open up the first public participation portion of this meeting. You'll have 3 minutes to address our council once you stand to the podium and you state your name for the record.
Jack Cowell, Palm Coast. I got nothing to say. I just want to, I want to pull something from the consent agenda. I'd like to pull, if you don't mind, 5 to 24,
You'd like to pull all the items?
all items. Now, if you want to know why, because when we go to the workshop, right, you go through all this, and we don't have a say. You don't ask us if we have anything to say about it. It's you say it, and we have to listen and accept it. So now, the people that are in the audience now, they haven't heard this, and they don't know what it is, and you're going to approve this consent agenda without even going over it. Now, you're the only city council that has never pulled a consent agenda, anything. But, so let's have them all and let the people know what they're doing.
Understood. Thank you, Jack. Next speaker?
Go ahead. I'll go behind you.
Oh, I lost it.
I've got a manual timer I can use. Technical difficulties. Feel free, I've got 3 minutes going for you. I'll start as soon as you state your name.
Phyllis Robin Scheffler, because the permitting department did not exercise due diligence. They allowed a dishonest contractor, John Costa, to work at my house and not repair the damage for my deck that the insurance company paid $23,500 for, and John Costa said it was a $2,200 job. I was not given the right of protection as a taxpayer. I would like to know when the council intends to discuss the permitting application enhanced requirements so that an unscrupulous contractor like John Costa, working under the license of Don Guyoning of Charlotte, North Carolina, who has now disappeared, according to Ken Boris, the investigator with the Department of Professional Regulation. You cannot allow these unsavory individuals to continue to defraud the city by fallacious statements on the permitting application. No proof is required. as to the job value or the job description. If Bobby Bembry needs help with the job, what the job of inspector is, she can get help from her husband, Lloyd Bembry, who is an inspector in the county under the supervision of Ed Rodriguez, the supervisor of contracts. Because John Costa was not truthful, actually he lied about the scope of work to do, thereby submitting minimal architectural renditions indicating only repair to an existing beam, when he had to dismantle my entire upper deck, dismantle it, and he puts down repair a beam. So we had two inspectors. Inspector number one came 4 weeks after the beginning of the job. Oh, you're giving me more time?
No.
Yeah, you have 50 seconds, Phyllis.
I have a lot, you know, I can share a packet of stuff this thick. I have researched it, and our paralegal knows that I have now achieved the level of pseudo-paralegal. And every day I find out something new. I just found out I can't hear a damn. So I just found out there are earphones, because my own things behind here that I just paid $3,200 for are not worth a damn. So next week, our legal entity is going to provide me with earphones so that I can hear all of you. Because I think you can hear me without a microphone. Because I have projected for 30 years to a classroom full of children and teachers and parents, and now the council. So I'll have more to say, believe me, gentlemen, and I hope you get off your butts and do something about this real soon.
Thank you, Phyllis. Next speaker.
Oh, I'm okay. He's worried I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Hello, my name is Tony Mace. I am a friend, a mother, a business owner, a supporter, among many other things, one of them being a survivor. I've been through a lot in my 36 years, physical, mental, domestic abuse. I have struggled with addictions in my past, anxiety, depression, have came to the breaking point about to take my own life. A few words changed my path, which is where Flagler County Signs for Change started. I have struggled with medical issues. I am a survivor. I tell you all this to explain I have been there. I have felt alone. I have felt the disconnect. There's a need so many of us have and feel. A need that can begin to heal with the simplest solutions, a developed sense of community. In our county, so many people tell us that they feel alone. The people here do not know how to connect with one another. We want to help. I am the owner of Piece by Pieces Healing and Wellness, a community wellness center, and the president founder of its affiliated nonprofit, Find Your Piece by Pieces. Our mission is find your piece by pieces. Whatever your pieces of wellness may be, one of them should be community. We need each other. Everyone that is now involved with either the center or the nonprofit has a passion for helping people find their peace. We've created a place and a way for our community to connect in more ways than one, with our groups, gatherings, classes, and our wellness initiatives, like Flagler County Signs for Change. We are making a difference here in our community. People are seeing each other. People send us pictures of the signs, they reach out, they are seeing each other. The center provides a calming, inviting atmosphere, welcoming any and all people. A safe space, as many people have referred to it as. We are not a crisis center, but a place to find a way to provide yourself preventative care. We open in response to our county having the highest suicide rate in the state, but we are for everyone. Everyone needs wellness, and wellness and connection go hand in hand. Our nonprofit supports wellness initiatives in our county, including Piece by Pieces Wellness Center, a community-based group, Flagler County Mental Health and Wellness, Flagler Lifeline, and we are working with the City of Palm Coast and Flagler County officials on various wellness initiatives. We are also involved in fighting for mental health resources for our county, but if we don't have a way to connect to one another, what good will it do? A little more about the center. We are a place for affordable classes, fitness classes, kid classes, stress management skills, a meeting area. We have counselors who are now sharing the space with us to offer therapy to all, but are very family-oriented. We have a calming community lounge for people to come and sit and be around other people. LGBT youth group, teen night, co-parenting, abuse survivors. There are lots of groups that we do. I hope to have you all be a part of this place that has helped so many already. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker?
Hello. Gary Perkins, and right now I'm representing the Young Professional Group of Flagler County. And I just want to thank the City Council and City staff for meeting with us last week to talk about economic improvements ideas that we have, as young entrepreneurs here in the community. We just appreciate the support, and we look forward to working with you guys in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker?
Morning, Jeffrey Seib. I am here today as a resident of Palm Coast speaking about the Palm Coast Park development, specifically 3 items concerning the wetlands that are found on the Palm Coast Park properties as described in the DRI development order. The development order states that there are approximately 2,000 acres of wetlands on the Palm Coast Park property. It goes on to say that 185 acres, or roughly 10% of those wetlands, will be drained and filled. This is a major loss of wetlands. But if this is the total amount of wetlands to be drained and not just a holding number until the next amendment to the DRA comes along, perhaps calling for 350 acres to be drained, then, although more than many would like, the loss of this 185 acres or 10% would be acceptable if the remaining 1,800 acres or 90% are preserved. So in that regard, I request the City Council vote against any further increases in the acreage of wetlands to be drained in Palm Coast Park. The next item of my concern with the wetlands in Palm Coast Park has to do with the wetland buffers proposed for this development, which call for an average buffer size of 25 feet in width over the length of the wetland. The purpose of an adjacent undeveloped area of buffer for a wetland is to protect the wetland and allow even a truncated natural drainage pattern to remain, and the science states that all wetlands need these buffers. No science supports an inadequate wetland buffer. Scientific studies of wetland buffers published in peer-reviewed journals such as the Journal of Soil and Water Conservation, Journal of Environmental Quality, and the U.S. Department of the Interior state that anything less than a 25-foot wetland buffer will over time degrade and eventually destroy the wetland in question. Therefore, I ask the Council to implement a minimum wetland buffer of 25 feet over the entire 1,800 acres of Palm Coast Park wetlands. Anything less would be in effect draining more wetland acres than what has been called for. The third issue with the Palm Coast Park wetlands has to do with the Hewlett Swamp, which has a historic and environmental importance. My hope is that none of the 185 acres of wetlands to be drained and are found in Hewlett Swamp. Hewlett Swamp has been here forever, and it could be judged as more important than Graham Swamp in that it cleans and provides filtered water to the Pellicer Creek, a state-recognized waterway, and the Guano Tolomado Reserve. Right now, the swamp is being logged and damaged as heavy equipment tears through the fragile swamp ecosystem, but the damage won't be permanent if it's left alone afterwards. The Hewlett Swamp drainage ecosystem has a historic and provides a very important environmental value, so I ask the Council to protect and preserve Hewlett Swamp. In summary, I ask the Council to vote any increases in the amount of wetlands to be drained, to implement a 25-foot buffer for all wetlands found on Palm Coast Park, and to preserve the Hewlett Swamp ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker?
Good morning, Council. It's a very good morning. The sun is shining.
Do you mind stating your name for the record, sir?
Doyle Lewis, homeless advocate for Volusia and Flagler County.
Thank you, sir.
The number one reason why I'm here is because I was told to move here to babysit. Babysitting is a very good job if you know how. Homeless advocates have health issues. We need more money going to the health in this next budget. We need to add to our health department because all of our health is very important. The organs of homeless people are dying because of the drug overdoses. Misuse of hospitals, misuse of drug and painkillers. We need safe housing for people who are fighting the disease of the drugs that were given to them, saying they were good for them. There's plenty of lawsuits going on now about this, so get in line for it. Get ready to make the safe housing for them so we don't have to watch them die on the streets. If you need to build a homeless shelter, go that way too, to save lives. I find a homeless person that is new to the streets every single day between Volusia and Flagler County. And the sun is shining on them more than you because you're inside. So that's a health issue too because of skin cancer. My stepdad died from that. Now, the third thing that really needs to be pushed in the housing department is vouchers for the homeless so they can afford to get off the streets without having to ask for help. Get the vouchers with the housing authority around Volusia and Flagler County. Start talking about this problem because it's not going away unless you, our leaders, do something about it. I've had nurses ask me to come babysit Palm Coast. I've been doing Daytona pretty long. I did St. Augustine. I cannot be fired. I don't get paid. And yet, I've got applications out there for jobs. And the last thing I want to talk about, once or twice a week, somebody's trying to commit suicide. Do not let this go by another year without putting this in the budget, more and more. Our young adults demand you to do your job better. Learn how to babysit, because that's what our jobs are.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good morning, Mike Cochiolo, Palm Coast. I had noticed in the Flagler Live the other day, I believe, the possibility of the city acquiring the Palm Coast Marina. I've long been a proponent of making that marina a public facility. It is Palm Coast's waterside gateway. Thousands of people a year flow past that marina. They stop, they dock there, they spend their money in our restaurants, and they use our facilities in this city, and more often than you think, they decide to settle in Palm Coast, they buy homes, and they stay here and become valued members of our community. The marina, I worked there for about 8 years. Every year, we earned a profit, every year. There is a lot of potential there. It needs development, but it's been sitting there for years now with no investment. If that was properly taken care of and properly invested in, it can be not only a real asset to the community, but a draw that we used to have years ago when the old Sheraton was there, drawing people in to look at our community and hopefully stay and spend their money and pay our taxes. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Steve Carr, Palm Coast. I'm somewhat concerned about a lot of the development that's going on in Palm Coast, especially along the Palm Harbor Parkway section. Florida Park Drive is plagued with over 8,000 cars per day using it as a cut-through to exchange traffic between two parkways, between Palm Coast Parkway and Palm Harbor Parkway. And I'm concerned about the health of the residents in the residential area. And I always ask, what is a child's health really worth? And many health organizations have written many articles about close proximity traffic to homes and the harm to the health of children, to the elderly, and really anybody that lives there. So I'm concerned about the development as far as traffic analysis. I don't think we're getting the proper traffic analysis when we have constantly increased in traffic along Florida Park Drive. It just, how can the traffic analysis be proper if it continues to harm a residential neighborhood. One of the policies that you have in your comprehensive plan is the city shall develop neighborhood compatibility criteria which shall be utilized by the city to review application for future land use amendments, rezoning, special exception to ensure that proper land use and development do not adversely impact existing residential areas. Florida Park Drive has been there a long time, and traffic keeps increasing. So what can we do? What will the city do to guarantee proper traffic analysis that will prevent the residential areas from being harmed for additional traffic, especially Florida Park Drive? I'm just real concerned with it. I'm gonna read this from a health organization. Children being in a rapid growth phase consume more unit weight than an adult. They consume more food and more air. Therefore, if you breathe the same air, they will get more of the bad stuff in their system. Also, their immune system is not fully developed, therefore it may impact them more than those with a mature immune system. One last thing to consider is that some pollutants are heavier than air, so they tend to stay lower in the room. Children like to play on the floor, so they yet are again getting more exposed to heavy pollutants. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Next speaker? No? Okay, I will close public comment. I will answer the statements in chronological order. I'll try my best. First, Jack pulling all the consent agenda items. That is fully something that you can do, but what I would like to do in recourse to that is move the presentation of certificates to the graduating students of the city's Palm Coast 47 Citizen Academy ahead of all of the consent agenda items. And just as an explanation, the majority of our consent agenda items today are for service agreements for future work that hasn't been completed yet, or it's not even in our purview yet. Basically, what we as a city are trying to do is queue up different contractors for potential work that could happen in the event of an emergency or something were to happen. For instance, let's see, some of the pipe inspection services. So right now, we don't have any plans to actively engage in these contractual agreements. But if we had to all of a sudden inspect a ton of pipes that we know we didn't have the staff capable of doing that, we would have a list of people ready to go so that they're already approved, they don't have to go through the process. Basically, we're just vetting companies and contractors to be able to perform the services if we need them to. So that's why there's a high volume of items on the consent agenda today. And those are all the items that you see for the service agreements. The other items to note are the cultural grants. For fiscal year 2019-2020, $30,000 is being distributed amongst, I believe, 14 different entities. And also our bank loan with Center State Bank for the purpose of financing stormwater improvements. The reason that that is a number one choice with Center State was it didn't offer any penalties for early repayment of the loan. But we can go ahead and pull the consent agenda items, but I would like to move the Citizens Academy up. Phyllis, I encourage you to continue your due diligence with our permitting process and also the legal ramifications from your contractor project that went poorly, and I'm sorry to hear that we continue to have issues tracking down that individual. Tony, your survivor story is very much a powerful one, and I do encourage everyone to engage in the sense of community that Palm Coast should strive to achieve, and I think you're absolutely right that together, no one is alone. And I say that because so many people are going through these struggles and battles individually. And when that goes on, we have a tendency to kind of tunnel vision ourselves and we block out everyone. And a sense of community can really help get into that person's mindset. And really, it can save a life. So I'm thankful for the work that you're doing with your nonprofit. And I completely agree. Sense of community is the way that we need to go. And also, Halloween coming up, that's a great time of the year for me because when I'm out with my nephews, I see the community in action. I see everyone with their lights on. I see these kids running around, similar to how I grew up north. It really makes a difference to a child if they can knock on a door and they see a face and they hand them candy. It's that relationship just with your community that they're building at that time. So thank you very much. Gary Perkins, you are a tremendous advocate. I'm thankful that you are engaged with our economic development talks. You continue to be a leader not only amongst our young professional groups, but in professionals in general in Palm Coast and Flagler County. So thank you for all the work that you do. Mr. Saad, I will do my best to educate myself about the buffers for wetland buffers that you referenced. Like you said, we will take into consideration any increases in wetland mitigation and wetland credits that are involved with the Palm Coast Park DRI. But again, I will do my best to educate myself about the wetland buffers so that I can follow precisely.
Mr. Vice Mayor, Council, to the extent that there could be in the future, and I'm not aware of any pending application, but to the extent that there could be in the future any effort by the property owner to amend their current vested rights, any comments that you had heard this morning pertaining to that future quasi-judicial matter would be considered ex parte communications and should be kept in mind and announced at that time in the event that there ever is a matter coming back before this council for an amendment to that DRI.
Understood, excellent, and noted. Let's all try to remember that if that ever is the case, but we also can't guarantee that those amendments won't be brought forward, so that could happen anytime in the future. Doyle, thank you for coming today and speaking about the struggles that people are facing in our community between painkiller addictions, attempted suicides, and actual suicides. There's definitely a crisis that is going on, and we work hand in hand with Bob Snyder and the health department, and we are actively trying to empower them to be as influential in our community as possible. And it also goes back to the sense of community. When someone feels alone, that's when they're most likely to, perform these kind of acts on themselves. Michael Cella, thank you very much. The Palm Coast Marina waterside, bless you. The Palm Coast Marina is a tremendous piece of property, and everyone who lives on the Intracoastal sees the volume of boats and travelers that are traveling through our city. And I think you're absolutely right. If the situation were to arise where we could engage in a revenue positive agreement, that would be something that the council would certainly be willing to entertain. But it is a positive note that we're trying to take a piece of land and do the right thing because it is, like you say, so vital and potentially vibrant to the city of Palm Coast. Mr. Carr, Florida Park continues to be a hotspot. It's just very difficult to actually limit the traffic that occurs on Florida Park Drive like we've discussed before. The traffic analyses have been performed and they do return results that show higher than what we would like usage. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the air quality tests have also come back that they're within range of satisfaction, which doesn't necessarily speak to the topic that you're speaking about. We don't really have a plan besides lane narrowing and continuing with the signs to get heavy trucks off of Florida Park Drive. It's just unfortunate that it was built in such a way that it was a throughput road, and that's where we live in today. Thank you for your public comments. I appreciate it. But after the F4, I will move item H25 to be item F5. But moving on, we now will have an item, I'd like to seek approval for the minutes of October 1st, 2019 business meeting and our October 8th, 2019 workshop.
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor say aye. 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 All those against say nay. The minutes pass 4-0. Now moving on to our proclamations and presentations, item F2 is a presentation of our 2019 Intracoastal Waterway Cleanup Event results. Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, City Council. My name is Jordan Myers. I'm the Environmental Planning Technician here with the city, and I'm also the event coordinator for our Intracoastal Waterway Cleanup event. I'm here to present the results from our event on September 7th. So this event is rooted in our Strategic Action Plan, Objective 5.1, to enhance community and visitors' recreational opportunities. Our event is made to have, for the volunteers to have fun, help clean up Palm Coast, and to educate people on the importance of keeping our environment beautiful. Our event day was September 7th. We had it at the beautiful new community center for the second year in a row. We have vendors there. Our volunteers clean up both the waterways and our parks and trails. We want to expand awareness, and it's typically conducted in conjunction with the International Coastal Cleanup Day, which is September 21st.
So it's just a bit before that. Here are some of our previous mascots. We had our 10-year turtle, Walter Waterways, in 2017, and last year was Finn the Dolphin. And this year we have our naming contest as always. We put it out on Facebook for our citizens to help name our new mascot. These were our top 5 choices. We had 81 votes total. Henry came in 3rd. Spoonie McSpoonbill came close 2nd. But ultimately Palmer was chosen as our Spoonbill mascot's name. And here's a picture of him right there. So we had a social media campaign advertising the waterway cleanup event as well as an event on Facebook just to advertise and provide a link for our citizens to register for the event. We also allow day of registrations to come to the community center. We always suggest you do it beforehand so we can guarantee that you get your shirts, bags, reusable bottles, and this year we actually gave out reusable straws as well in carrying cases. Those are some of our most unique find submissions from last year. Last year the bowling ball did end up winning the most unique find, which is judged by our Florida Fish and Wildlife officers. So we have sponsors and partnerships. Our biggest is the grant that we received from the Florida Inland Navigation District. They give us up to $5,000 every year for this event. Over the 12 years, it's been up to about $60,000 that they've given us to help host this event, as well as our sponsors, which you see on the poster right there. So this year we received approximately $5,800 in contributions, gift cards, and gift certificates that goes straight into the event, purchasing the shirts, bags, and things that we give out to our volunteers, as well as the prizes they can win. We have another fun thing that we started last year, Litter Bingo. So that's another way you can enter to win some prizes. We provide one of these in each of the bags that goes to our volunteers. You can win any way, like regular bingo. This year we had one of our interns come up with fairly punny tiles for people to read. Can you dig it? Finding an aluminum can and things like that. So it was fun to get our interns involved in the event. We have some pictures of our volunteers, one of our public works employees helping pick up some of the bigger trash. We have Councilmember Cuff.
I recognize one of those guys.
Me too. I was in disguise.
It was in disguise.
Volunteers picking up along the trail that starts at a waterfront park. And then everyone is invited back to the community center for snacks and prizes and to speak with some of our vendors like Wild Birds Unlimited, who did help sponsor the event. And they learn about their store and about the environment. This is Ripple Effect. She had a display that showed how pollution works. So it's very interesting for the kids to be able to learn. We had a display board that was then based on the reduce reuse questions that they could answer to win some prizes. Our utility department passing out cards about Palm Coast Connect, and then people on the Palm Coast, the community center playground. So this is our winner for the most unique find contest. She found a bread maker, which is what the FWC officers decided was the most unique find. And as part of her prize, we always give out a stuffed version of our mascot. So she did win the stuffed spoonbill as part of her prize packet. And there is all of our winners. We give out the reduce reuse, the litter bingo, most unique find, and most trash collected. There's a graph of all of our past years. So this year we had 318 registered, an increase from last year, which is surprising since we had a hurricane the week before. And they collected 1,105 pounds of trash out of our waterways and trails. So we do already have our date for next year, September 12th. And here are some of the mascot ideas. We will still be voting on them. One of our options is the river otter, small-toothed sawfish, and the North Atlantic right whale. That concludes the presentation.
Awesome. I would just like to say this is a tremendous event, and thank you to all the city staff who were involved and all the volunteers. It's tremendous to see that everyone involved was able to take out 1,000 pounds of trash at our intercoastal waterways. That's an incredible thing, and it also speaks earlier about the Palm Coast Marina being, a valuable asset to whoever owns it in the city of Palm Coast, but we need to keep everything beautiful. So thank you for all your hard work, and thank you to all the staff and volunteers. Council, do we have any questions or comments? Bob, or Mr. Cuff, you were there firsthand.
No, it is a lot of fun, and it's good to see. Again, getting back to our commenter earlier about the community coming together, it's a good way to get, especially young people, with their parents and out to do something positive and meet other folks. My only, I don't want to be a downer for next year, but I would like to take Whaley McWright Whale off the table as a possible name for the mascot if the whale wins. But I'm not trying to influence anything. But no, it was a great event, and I hope next year we don't have a hurricane threat 3 days before, so that we can get a little better turnout and maybe get another ton of trash off the shores. So.
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
Beautiful job, beautiful work, and Palmer, it's a beautiful name.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just can't believe you got Ernest Hemingway to participate. I don't know how you found him.
Excellent.
The look-alike contest is a couple weeks from now down in Key West.
And I hope that city staff doesn't have a bread maker in their white elephant Christmas trade this year. So be advised. But thank you very much, Jordan. I appreciate it. Thank you. Moving on to our first proclamation is item F3, a proclamation of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I will actually be presenting this. Those who are receiving, if you don't mind meeting me at the podium. Whereas home should be a place of warmth, unconditional love, tranquility, and security, and for most of us, home and family can indeed be counted among our greatest blessings. Tragically, for many Americans, their home is tarnished by violence and fear. And whereas family violence is a crime that transcends race, religion, ethnicity, and economic stature, and one of its greatest tragedies is its effect on our children. And whereas an estimated 4.8 million cases of domestic violence occur each year, and at its most tragic level, kills an average of more than 3 women every day nationally. And whereas the Family Life Center, the only certified domestic violence emergency shelter and sexual assault emergency shelter in Flagler County, served 940 victims in the past year. And whereas each October, the formal recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month allows the community to acknowledge and show their support for the victims of this horrific crime. And whereas the Flagler County Advocates Alliance, comprised of the Flagler County Sheriff's Office Victim Advocate, the Flagler Beach Police Department Victim Advocate, the State Attorney's Victim Advocate for the 7th Judicial Circuit Flagler and the Family Life Center, and the Flagler County Sheriff's Domestic Violence Summit membership, are committed to confront this crisis and are working together to increase public understanding of this problem and mobilize community efforts to end domestic violence. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the City of Palm Coast Mayor and City Council do hereby designate October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urge all citizens of Palm Coast to become a part of the community response to end domestic violence and to send the message that this crime will not be tolerated in our community. As we spread awareness of domestic violence in our community during the month of October, we recognize that it takes an entire community to stand together and make a difference. Together, we can break the cycle and impact the lives of future generations. Signed this 15th day of October 2019, City of Palm Coast, Vice Mayor Nick Lucas. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. On an unrelated note, or actually very related, I would also like to say that I know that you are holding the no-show gala, so if you'd like to speak to that, but also I'd like you to say some words about receiving the proclamation.
Good morning, City Council again. My name is Gary Perkins. I'm a community relations advocate for the Family Life Center. Behind me, I have my fellow advocates for the Family Life Center. Our mission is to provide essential support services to individuals and families to end domestic violence as well as sexual violence in our county. Your city's pledge to stand with us in this crucial fight not only helps our cause, but shows why so many have fallen in love with the city of Palm Coast and its leaders. In the past year, the Family Life Center has been able to serve over 1,000 participants, 200 of which have gone through our emergency shelter. We have received 557 calls through our crisis hotline, and we're able to follow up with 250 callers through crisis intervention. Our work is important, but it's never ending. That's why we continue to need the community support in spreading awareness about our services. If anyone has any questions on exactly what we do or would like to lend a helping hand, please visit our website at www.familylifecenter.org. Follow us on Facebook at Family Life Center Flagler or give us a call 386-437-7747. And to any victims in the audience today, I want you to always remember one thing: you are not alone.
I would just like again to say thank you to everyone here, and impacting almost 1,000 lives each year is tremendous. So thank you guys very much.
I just want to add that please keep in mind that children are usually the biggest victims of domestic violence, except for those that have physical or corporal, situations. But please instill in those parents' minds. Remember, I'm a retired cop, and I dealt a lot with domestic violence. It's not pretty. It's scary, especially when you walk in a house and you see two adults, sometimes over absolute no reason, going crazy, and there's a kid crying. Please instill in those parents, if you have a chance, that they are the biggest victims, the kids. Thank you for your job. Beautiful job you're doing out there. Thank you.
And just to note, the no-show gala that I referenced, it's an opportunity for individuals in our community to donate to a great cause. So if everyone wants to check that out, that would be tremendous. And thank you very much, Councilmember Aquino. Moving on to item F4, it's a proclamation of mental health awareness given by Councilmember Cuff.
Whereas mental health is important for our individual well-being and vitality, as well as that of our families, communities, and businesses. And whereas 1 in 5 Americans experience a mental health illness that requires treatment at some point in their lives, and 1 in 10 children has a serious emotional disturbance, which, if left untreated, could lead to school failure, substance abuse, jail, and suicide. And whereas Flagler County ranks 9th in the state of Florida in suicide rate, and whereas stigma and stereotypes associated with mental illness often keep people from seeking treatment that could improve their quality of life, and whereas mental illness is a biologically based brain disorder that cannot be overcome through willpower and is not related to a defect in a person's character or intelligence. And whereas mental health recovery is a journey of healing and transformation, enabling people with a mental illness to live in a community of his or her choice and benefits not only the individuals, but also enriches the culture of our community life. And whereas the City of Palm Coast and its partners are dedicated to inspiring hope, empowering people, and strengthening the community we share. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Mayor and City Council of the City of Palm Coast that October is designated as Mental Health Awareness Month, and we call upon all citizens of Palm Coast, as well as our public and private institutions, businesses and local agencies and schools, to recommit to increasing awareness and understanding of mental illness and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental illnesses to promote recovery. Signed this 15th day of October, 2019 Vice Mayor Nicholas Kloufas. And I think the proclamation says it all, and the people that are here and that have already addressed us say it better than I can, but along with the need for a sense of community and the ability to talk about this in the open, I can't think of a more worthy cause for October. So I don't know who's the lucky person who gets the piece of paper. That seems like the least of it. But, thank you. Thank you for your efforts and everything that you do.
My name is Susanna Urban. This is very important to me as I lost my son to suicide last year. I work both with Flagler Lifeline and Pieces Healing and Wellness, and we are trying very hard to help people that are in mental health crisis, suicide crisis. We appreciate the city's ability to come out and help us and provide support, and all of our citizens coming in to help support the center and Flagler Lifeline so that we can get the information out and provide services to our community. Mental health is every day, every minute. It's not something that ever goes away. You deal with it every single day. And even after losing my son, I still deal with it every day because now I carry it. I've chose to be an advocate, and all these people standing around me are all advocates as well. And we really hope that we can change our number from number 9 to number 67 in Florida and be the lowest. A zero suicide rate would be something that would be amazing for this county, and we'd like to work to get there. We appreciate all of this, and we appreciate the proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add that you are a bunch of good-hearted people. We could see it. And thank you for your job of doing this, bringing mental illness to mental wellness. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys very much. That was excellent. Okay, I'm going to, like I said earlier, move item H25, the presentations of certificates to the graduating students of the City of Palm Coast 47th Citizens Academy class to essentially item F5. Mr. Shade.
Hello, Mr. Vice Mayor, Council. First, thank you for moving the presentation. I misspoke last night and told them, these fine people, that it was at the beginning of the meeting. And then I told them the consent agenda would go very quickly. And with those things being untrue, thank you for moving.
0 for 2.
Yeah. This is a first. So what I would like to have is all of our Citizens Academy members come up and stand over here. With my assistant Kim, we will hand out some of the diplomas. But first, just to take a second and speak to everyone who wasn't part of our Citizens Academy, this is a fantastic opportunity for the citizens of Palm Coast to learn more about what makes their city work, and more importantly, to become pieces of both advocates and pieces of information for the rest of our community, to let them know that the city is working on their behalf, that, quite frankly, the city knows what it's doing sometimes when it comes to all those complicated stormwater issues that maybe they didn't understand before they came here. And they get to see some really cool stuff and eat some really good food because our utility workers and our fire department and even our city hall staff cooked some amazing meals for them throughout this process. So what we're gonna do is call out one at a time, ask that you do not hold your applause because each and every one of these people deserve some recognition for the time they put in, the understanding that they now have, and I encourage everyone who's not standing up here to be a part of one of our Citizens Academies in the future. And thank you to all the city staff and to the council members for helping out throughout this process. Thank you.
May I also note that I was so encouraged by everyone who obviously is so engaged in this process, but so many of you told me that you had heard about this process from a neighbor or a friend in Palm Coast, and most of everyone here had only been in Palm Coast for a few years. So you guys are truly encapsulating the sense of community. You're talking to your neighbors, you're asking what's going on in the city. I'm just so encouraged through that, but also in the theme of today's meeting. It's very great to see all you guys engaged in our community, and thank you for being advocates and ambassadors for the city of Palm Coast. Thank you.
All right, please come to the podium when I state your name. Diane Aubin. Vicky Burke. Mary Alice Brandt. Mary Cramford. Mary Louise Donnelly. Terrence Donnelly. David Lee. Sandy Lee. This name I'm going to not do well on. Denise Majewski? Majewski, sorry. John Maloney. Donna Maloney. Deborah Marinko. And I'll be presenting this to her as well. Anthony Marinko. Gordon Matheson. Ann Matheson. Darren Maloney. And Deborah Maloney. Denise Murray. Terry Poindexter. Nikki Rodriguez. Darlene Shelley. Ronald Turcott. It's not here, but we'll give him a round of applause too. Joyce Walters. Ken Woike. And Chris Woike. And if we can just have you gather together in the middle, and if council members you want to rise, we'll do a picture. Just jump together a little bit.
You guys want to slide down to your right?
Or shall we slide a little bit to the left?
Good.
But then again,
A little bit closer. Come on in. Come on in.
Left foot in, put your left foot out.
Have y'all on the end come more closer. No, that's okay. I mean, yeah. We're almost there. We almost have everybody in the.
You guys are funny.
All right. All right. I'm gonna take 3 pictures. All right. 1, 2, 3.
That was all 3, right?
1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Julie's the
actually. Mr. Vice Mayor, I had one public service announcement to the spouses that attended together. This is just a word of advice for the husbands. Accompanying your spouse to Citizens Academy is wonderful, and we encourage it. It doesn't technically count as a date. So that in mind, like when Valentine's Day or an anniversary rolls around.
Dinner is dinner.
Well, yeah, but, you know.
No.
Oh, gotcha, yeah. Kate steps in.
See, I rest my
Asterisk.
case.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda, we have, the current situation is that Jack requested all of the items to be pulled from the consent agenda. Just real quick, I want to discuss with the council, it's not our legal requirement to actually go through every single item on this consent agenda. If we wanted to provide a subset that we would go into, is it inappropriate if I asked to filter out the resolution items that would be the service agreements that are with the multiple contractors? I have a problem with Jack saying that we don't go over these things, but at the workshops, we do have a chance to, everyone has a chance to participate in the beginning and at the end of the meetings. Any of the business workshop items, in the sense of brevity, it's just going to be very verbose going through all of these. We do have ample public participation time, and again, these are all the items that get flushed out during the workshops that don't really have presentations and more or less are business, city business that agreements that doesn't necessarily require a proclamation or presentation. So how does the council feel about that? I don't want to make a decision unilaterally, but if I could get some input, I would appreciate it.
Well, it's either you do it now or you're going to do it later. This is stuff that the city needs.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's service agreements that one way or the other we're going to have them. Either we do it now or we're going to have to do it later.
Yep.
And if we have this opportunity to do it now, if there's any questions to be answered, I'm pretty sure that, we'll do it. But we're going to have to do it one way or the other.
Council, the issue.
I will allow Jack, if you could filter out some of the items that are most important to you, if we can just get like a minute 30 on the clock, just for quick brevity. I don't want to disallow you,
I know that. Jack Carroll, Palm Coast. You could take 10 to 17. Just give me an overview of what companies you're going to go into. I guess before your times, we had a little thing with Klein Construction. They built a bridge. Now, I don't know if you remember it. I guess the council would. They built a bridge that called for a certain length of bolt or screw, whatever it is. And they used a half size. And they were called up on it. Now, I don't know what excuse they gave. I don't know what it was. But it was a cheat. Now, I don't know if they used that to get a low bid or not, but I think I think we're allowed, or we should be permitted to know who you're doing business with. Like, if a company cheats, I think they should be crossed off the list. But over the years, Klein has been putting in bids, and I often wonder, are the low bids because they're cutting on certain areas? So that's what, just give me a couple of names.
Deal.
So that I go home and cry.
Fair. Hopefully you don't do that, but if we'll both be satisfied, thank you very much.
I'd like to know.
10 through 17, I can do a high-level run-through for you.
All right. I'd like to know who's getting the $30,000 grants.
Sure. Okay.
I mean, you got, I think you said 16 people or 16 organizations?
Yep, 14. I'll go through them, Jack.
14. That's coming out about $2,000 per an organization. Now.
Thank you, Jack. I'll go through them.
Well, I want to know who's getting it and what they're going to use it for.
Yep. I'll answer your questions. I was just hoping to clarify which one.
I don't want a two-sentence answer.
Yep.
Okay, then. You can handle the rest of it.
All right. Thanks, sir. Okay, so I will quickly go through some of these and just give examples.
Don't go quickly through it.
I'll go fully through.
Just hold off 1 minute. Hey, Jack,
Let's
one
go
of the
slowly
things,
through it.
one of the things that Lauren had told me, because I'd asked that question about that first item, you know, the grants.
Yeah.
And when she had the workshop, while she listed on her slide the folks that were awarded the grant and the amount, I asked her what was the project that they had submitted for. And I myself overlooked it. It was in the presented package that they listed every one of those organizations and what they requested the money was for. And I only tell you that because if you look at what...
I seen that up there, you couldn't read that.
No, I'm not talking, no, listen to me. What I'm saying is if you read ahead of time, and I know you do, you look at what's on the agenda, but if you go on, she published all of the things and individual slides which you could have caught, not just the one that we presented. I agree with you. You know, you had to have binoculars to see that particular slide. But I know what you're interested in is exactly who got the money and what was the money for? What is it to be utilized? And what I'm saying is that information was available to you as it is in any time we have the agenda put out there, but you got to go do the research and the attachments, okay? But I certainly understand where you're coming from.
And the attachments are where the real meat of this is. I mean, we have a 2-page agenda here, but it's almost 380 pages on the full agenda. Right. So all the details are out there.
These were subject of a public meeting also on September 12th. This was done in a full public meeting.
Yes, absolutely. And just for an example, one of the service agreements, if I'm looking at item 10, which is a resolution approving master service agreements with multiple firms for building inspection and plan review services. Basically, and we went through every one of these, the order for which they are ranked, in this instance, it's Universal Engineering Sciences, Nova Engineering, and JPI. Some of these firms we have worked with in the past, some have specialties. I know for one of the pipe inspectors, they actually have a specialty in submerged pipes. So ensuring that we have a good diversity of different firms that can handle the different types of situations is really the goal of these service agreements. And I'll do one more. The resolution approving agreements with multiple firms for citywide traffic engineering services. This one we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for which we chose the top 3 in their rankings. And I know that some of these service agreements were also, they were given basically I'll call it a demo, but a demo job that they would have to say, this is how much it's going to cost for us to provide these services for. One of them was for tree services. So for instance, if we had to haul away X number of tons, how much would that cost potentially? And that was part of their ranking. So we were basically giving them faux situations that they had to analyze, say how much they were going to cost, and then that was a component into their ranking. So I think that's satisfactory for the majority of these, and the remaining items are just calcium bulk quicklime for our water treatment plants and sodium hypochlorite. These are just really line items that don't really have too much to do with council member input, as they're just required for day-to-day operations, and they have been for many years. And unless they find a replacement for sodium hypochlorite, probably will be for many years to come. But is the council satisfied with my explanation of the consent agenda items? Jack, thank you very much for chiming in there, because the information is available. It's just very thick. It's a ton of information.
That's it. You got to do your research, you know. Now, Phyllis, I know, she'll do the research.
Yeah, oh yeah, she's out there. She's got binders.
But it's a lot. It's a lot of information out there. You just got to...
You're up there for it. Give us the information.
Yep. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items 5 through 24.
Well, hold on 1 minute. Are you satisfied, Jack?
Yeah.
Okay, then I will make that motion.
I just wanted to bring it up.
I'll second it.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those against say nay. Consent agenda items pass 4-0. And thank you for being amicable, Jack. I appreciate it. And also Councilmember Howell. So now we will move to item I, which is the second opportunity of public participation. If anyone would like to approach the podium, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to address your council once you've done so. Sure, it's a race to the podium.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Go ahead, 5G.
Thank you. Show off my artwork. Yeah. My name is Joe Hempling. I'm a retired public health educator. Moved to beautiful Palm Coast about a year ago. For all reasons to reunite with my Brooklyn girlfriend from 50 years ago. So love does spring eternally. One of the things that concerns me, however, is the 800-pound gorilla that's sitting in our living room, and I say that as 5G.
Talk into the mic, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. What I'm concerned about is the effects 5G would have. I know Palm Coast is looking into fiber optics, but 5G has been proven to be harmful. It's carcinogenic. It's military grade. We don't need it. 4G is not maxed out yet. And to come in with another series to sell you a phone, a brand new phone you don't need, or subjecting us to technologies that we don't need. If you follow what's been going on in the news, and I have all of my statements here for you, each one will have a folder. I'd also like to point out to you that I have recorded on a flash drive 40 individual experts, professors, you name it, who basically were recently on an internet conference on 5G Summit and the dangers that it represents. It's unbelievable, the danger that we're following. And you guys, as local elected representatives, in a way are getting to hold the bag because the insurance companies will not insure 5G and its dangers, which means where you sit, you're liable for our health and our safety. Not a good position to be in, but you can thank your telecom companies that mau-maued this thing through. They spent millions of dollars basically to make sure they preempted us having any say in it, and there's been no impact studies, there's no third-party safety studies, the guidelines are 20 years old, there's no way of opting out, and in fact it's going to affect everything because it basically does this damage at the cellular level. We are, by definition, electromagnetic beings. So what I'm saying is fiber optics is the way to go, and my hat is off to you because you've had some experience with that. I was doing a little surfing. I realized Ocala has something similar. I don't know if you want to do something similar, but my emphasis is just awareness raising because it's something that's being forced down our throats on steroids. And I'd like to see a moratorium in Palm Coast. I'd like to see public hearings. I'd like to bring in the experts. The only plus that I can think of in all of the studying I've done is that you're going to be able to download your videos quicker. Big deal. So it's going to be something that's going to violate our privacy, has nothing to do with improved internet service because wires in the ground and fiber optics are the way to go. There's professors, and as I say, you have in each one of your packets 40 experts that support what I'm saying.
Nope, that's your 3 minutes, Joe. Perfect. If you don't mind distributing those to Kate, then she can. Perfect. Then
Thank you for your time. I realize
it goes quick. Thank you, sir. Next speaker. Thank you. Yeah, perfect.
Thank you, folks.
Phyllis Robin Scheffler again, and thank you for your time. I will continue to fill you in on all of the requirements ignored by John Costa, as I am granted my 3-minute slots. And with all this that I have told you about, the permitting department is still allowing people like him to go ahead and perpetuate his lies. Of course, you know he's now building a house on 5 Cedar Court, and the licensee is I don't know where, maybe he's crawled into the woodwork someplace. Okay. Mr. Jason DiLorenzo's present role and his past experience in the building trades is very much aware of all the negatives that have prevented the city of protecting the rights of the taxpayer to which I am entitled, and unfortunately has made the city culpable as far as I'm concerned. Okay. So that's about it for now. I just want to add one more thing. John Costa knew how to circumvent the requirements of a contractor. If a job value is listed under $2,500, then a notice of commencement needs to be, if it's listed under $2,500, then a notice of commencement does not need to be completed and recorded with Flagler County Clerk's Office in Bunnell. And this is required before any inspections. So by putting down $2,200 instead of $23,500, he was able to circumvent that thing and didn't have to worry about the county. Okay, so that's about it for today. Maybe some other things will crop up and I'll be able to inform you lowly gentlemen and our paralegal here. You've been very gracious. Oops, I didn't know where to put this thing. But thank you for the hearing aids, because this old lady, I don't like to think of myself as such, but I am an old lady, is now suffering from the dilemma of not being able to hear you fine gentlemen. Thank you. Have a very nice day.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Jack Carroll, Palm Coast. A while back, I brought up a parking condition on roads that bend, that curve, and the trucks, especially these guys that do the lawns, they park their truck with the trailer on the curb, and it's hard to see oncoming traffic or to go around them. So I was just wondering if you had looked into it, or you just know in one ear and out the other, because I didn't see anything about it. I didn't see anybody make a motion or say, let's change the laws or something. It's got to be done. But I think what you're waiting for is a real death accident, and then you'll take it up. So think about it, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jack. Next speaker.
Good morning. Excuse me, George Mayo, Palm Coast. Again, like for the fourth time, I'll ask the council. Came in here this morning, it was hot. I've been assured 3 times previously that it would be cooled off. If you anticipate a large crowd, can you not cool down the area lower than normal so that when it comes in here and it heats up, it still stays cool? I'm here primarily to say I am dismayed to learn of the resignation of Bo Falgout. He served our city very well. This is in line with Cindy Lane, have also resigned, and possibly others that I'm not aware of. Now, I am not here, I don't work for the city, I don't work for the council, I don't see the day-to-day operations and interactions. But I attend enough meetings to listen to Cindy Lane and Bo, take care of city business, answer all questions, take care of business promptly and professionally. I'd like to know, does the city conduct an exit interview for our people who resign? If not, why not? I know that the council does not have hiring and firing process. That is up to the city manager. But if there's a central theme why we are losing good people, it is incumbent upon the city council to look into this and take whatever actions are necessary. I think we lost a good man. I think we will rue the day that we have lost him, but of course there's change and everybody goes through change. Having worked for a large organization like the Postal Service, I knew change was an everyday thing, but I also saw with them and possibly with other governments, maybe even here, change for the sake of change does not always give us a result that we want. So I would like to know if there is an exit interview, does the city council conduct an exit interview on their own? And if not, if there is one for the city, do you review it? And are you looking into that? And if you do not, I'd like to know why not. Thank you.
Thanks. Next speaker? All right, I think we got them all. I will now close public participation. Item I will answer or I'll give responses in chronological order for which I received the questions. Joe, thank you very much for the 5G explanation. I concur that it is a technology that definitely needs to be more vetted. Unfortunately, the sad reality is that preemption has basically tied the local municipalities and even the county level as far as direct rebuke or rebuttal against a lot of the right-of-way acquisitions and the telecommunication companies' ability to put up to like refrigerator-sized towers onto in the right-of-ways, and that I remember that because it had to do during the time of our Diamond Communication contracts. There was the whole preemption. That's when it all went kind of sideways for cities and counties. So that's the stark reality of that. But I do continue to hope that as a council we educate ourselves about emerging technologies and the potential dangers and any type of health risks that we potentially put our citizens against.
Comment?
Not right now.
Okay.
I can, thank you, though. Phyllis, please keep us abreast about any developments, and I do appreciate you coming back out and being sure to keep us updated on the situation. It is a shame that you're in the situation you're in, and I wish it had never happened to you, but anything future that happens, please continue to do what you're doing and do the right thing.
Yeah, but what I'd like to know is, what is the council going to do about a correction to this? That's what I want to do, and that's why I will be here each time to ask you gentlemen.
Yep, and I will.
What are you doing?
Yep, and I will speak with city staff about where this is actually in the legal process, and then the entities involved and how they were able to get around some of these things. But I think it may come down to just a single bad actor, which is hard for a city to police against.
No, it's not one bad actor.
Understood.
What Jay Moore told me, many people are affected.
Thank you, ma'am. Jack, the cars around roundabouts, I do recall you bringing this up, and it's a hard situation to really solve because these are small business owners and they're allowed to park on the side of roads. And I remember the discussion we had afterwards was really regarding the sense of community and also just telling these people, hey, put some cones out in front of your car around the bend. And it really comes down to A, people being more aware when they're driving, but B, these small business owners with these big trailers when they park around corners, that's a dangerous thing, but to haul around the heavy equipment that they need, it's a reality that we have to face. But if we can just engage them on a non-legal level, because we're limited with the capacity that we have to actually implement any type of legal changes with parking on the side of roads, that's how we're going to have to get around that. Mr. Mayo, I don't personally feel the air conditioning was off today, but next time, let's totally do that. If it is warmer out there, it could be that we have vents above us here as well. I do see that they're pointed down, but that's not the first time you've said that, so I'm sorry we didn't address that sooner. City staff could note that and maybe next time drop it down a few degrees. Also, the people that are resigning, we have to ensure that, we look at it as a situation where if these are canaries that are in a coal mine, that we need to make sure exit interviews. I'm not certain of the current status of our HR requirements as far as exit interviews or how that would flush out. But I know that our council isn't involved directly with the hiring and firing, so I don't think that we would be involved with the exit interview process. But again, that's kind of laid out in the city charter. But when you lose good people, you have to ensure that you know why. And I have no doubt that Bo's going to move on and do great things with wherever he ends up. He's capable of leading a team, and I'm sure that he's going to find a home somewhere, and they'll be lucky to have him. And that is all of the public participation from item I. Moving on to item J, discussion by city council matters not on the agenda. Councilmember Cuff.
Nothing for this meeting, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Aquino.
Yes, I just want to have a couple of comfort words for our mayor, who's going through a rough time, sitting next to her daughter that she needs a big miracle to bring her back home. Thank you.
Yep, amen. Councilmember Howell.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that, Mayor is going through a very difficult time. And I would just ask everybody to keep her and her daughter Tori in our thoughts. And hopefully, the young lady will heal and everything will turn out all right. I know that she had one heck of a surgery. We just got the fingers crossed. That's it.
Power of positive thoughts, absolutely.
That's right.
Bring her home
PMA,
soon.
positive mental attitude.
You're absolutely right. It's a great way to approach things. I would like to add that over the weekend I attended the Pink Army 5K. That was a tremendous event. I was really privileged to be there on behalf of Mayor Holland. I was able to say a few words, and of course I echo the same thoughts that everyone has about her daughter returning home. She's just a very tough parent, and no one should be going through that, not her daughter nor her. It's a very unfortunate situation. But the Pink Army 5K was very successful, and that was a great sense of community that I saw over the weekend. And also, just again, speaking about the no-show gala for the proclamation that we gave earlier for domestic violence awareness. That is a tremendous way to be able to advocate for these individuals in our community. We have 1,000 people each year who are impacted by this type of violence, and it's sad to see, but it is encouraging when individuals who aren't impacted or have the ability to help do so. And that's all I have for this meeting. Item K is discussion by city attorney of matters not on the agenda.
Nothing, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Reichman. And item L is discussion by city manager of matters not on the agenda.
Nothing, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Excellent. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We're out of here.